Hi, I'm Mike De Greasley and welcome to Cracking CGI. Now that we've created our model, mapped it out with textures and materials, and set up a very simple but basic rigging system, well, we're now in a position whereby we can begin creating a scene within which we're going to animate our model Messerschmitt and hopefully bring it to life. Something like this. Yes, that was our model Messerschmitt, and all the scenes were created within 3ds Max. However, there was a final section which was completed using Adobe After Effects. Okay, so let's get cracking. Well, this is quite a big subject to cover, and in all honesty, I could actually produce 3 times as many tutorials just covering it. Okay, so what's the first thing that we really need to create? Well, it's a scene, a backdrop in which it can be animated, in which it can perform. Okay, so let's start by popping up to our layers manager, and I've already created a new layer and I've called it scene set, and I've made sure that it's checked so that anything we create from this point on will be put into this scene layer. And if you've forgotten how to create a new layer, simply pop up, create new layer, and make sure it's checked. Now, there are many different ways that we can create a scene, so let's start by looking at a few of those. I'm going to open up my scene set because I've already prepared a couple. Okay, well, here we've got one which is a nighttime background. Let's start with that. So unhide that one, close this for a moment. Now let me just zoom around. So here we are. All we have is a plane to which we have added a bitmap material using our material editor, and I've actually placed it in here, and it's that one there. Okay, now this is fine if we want to produce some very simple animation, or if we wanted to create still images for action poses. Let's just grab the CC controller there, rotate it a little bit. Now that we have that there, pop in, we can pitch our fuselage, etc. Maybe zoom in a little bit more, then do a render, and there we go. A simple, straightforward action pose still image. Now we could of course accomplish something very similar another way. Let's just close this down and pop into layers for a moment, into our scenes, and I'm going to hide the nighttime back scene again. And now I'm going to pop up to rendering. I'm looking for environment, which is 8 as a hotkey. Now we've got environment, common parameters, and here in the background we can see that we have our environment map. Now at the moment none is selected, so if we left click on that button there, double click on bitmap, now what I want to do is look for my nighttime sky. There it is. Click, open. We've got this checked here, use map. Okay, so let's now close that down. Well, there's nothing happened in the background at the moment. However, when we go to render, there we are. Now we have all of the image within the render. But as you can see, it's the whole of the image. We can't really zoom in onto that one. So it has its limitations, but it does have its uses. Okay, let's close that down, pop into rendering, environment. No, I don't want to use that, and in fact let's cut that and say OK. Now remaining with background for a moment, let's pop into smooth and highlights, and this time I want to pop down to viewport background, and further down we can see viewport background here, which is Alt B as the hotkey. Left click on that. Now we can see here that we have background source and we've got files. Now here again I could pop down and use the night sky image. Select that one. Down here we can see it's checked display background, and then we can say OK, and there we are, we've got our background displayed. And again, we can't zoom in to this section, but we can zoom our model to fit our background environment image. Well, this is fine for still images, but let's say that I had a piece of animation in which a client wanted me to fit our model. Okay, so we can actually pop back up to smooth and highlights, go to viewport background again, and we're going to look at files once more. Now that we're here, I'm just going to pop down to file types, say show all files, and here we have a video clip. I'm going to select that video clip there, and we've got this check display background, but down here we also have animate background, and if I check that and now say OK, we have the image of our video footage. And now if we pop down to play animation, there we go. And let's stop that now. However, when it comes to rendering this, this is what we get. There you go. There's no background. The video footage isn't included, and that's because this video footage here is actually used as a reference source. It allows us to fit our model within the image, animate it, and then we'd export that animation into another software package such as After Effects, where we'd actually marry both sections together. Okay, let me set this back to 0, pop into smooth and highlights, viewport background, into viewport background. Now let's just take a look at this for a moment, because what I want to do is actually remove this from the system. So if I pop into devices, we have here device selection, no input output handlers found. If I press OK on that, say OK, and now unclick animate background, and we'll say OK. And incidentally, if you are looking for video footage that you can use within your productions, then I would recommend that you visit this place here. It's artbeats.com. Now most of this is for sale, but every so often they do let you have some freebies, so have a pop in here. I use it quite regularly for my stuff, but yeah, here it is, Artbeats. Have a good look around. Okay, let's just close that down. Now we could also create a 360-degree scene. I actually created one using a cylinder and then applied a material to it. In fact, if we pop up to our layers manager, scene set, let's unhide that and say OK, and there we go, a 360-degree scene. And as we can see, we can rotate about, and if we do a quick render, there we are. Well, that's looking a bit more promising. Okay, let's close that down. Well, I actually created this using a cylinder. In fact, if I zoom out a little bit here, we can see it. All it is a basic cylinder, and there's our Messerschmitt right down there in the middle. A cylinder which was converted into a poly, and then what I did was delete the top and the bottom end caps. When it came to applying the material, let's just pop into the material editor here for a moment and have a look at this. What I did was, in the shader basic parameters, in this section, two-sided, make sure that's checked, and then what happens is you get the image appearing on the outside and on the inside, and that's how that was created. The image itself I obtained from a website which we've already visited before, which is CG Textures, and where was it? Skies 360. This is a section here. Damn good. There we go. Right, let's close that down. So that's a 360 degree one. And if we zoom in, let me just find out where my aeroplane has gone. There it is. Lost you. Okay, so as I say, this is now looking promising, but there is an even better way of doing this. And before we bring this session to a close, what I'd like you to do is pop into your web browser, into Google, select images, and look for 360 sky panorama. And then once you've done that, go to this image here. You'll notice that it's quite a big size, 10,000 by 3028. Now, I found out that this is copyright free, so long as you give the photographer an acknowledgement. So here we go. Let me just pop into this, and as you can see here, I'm not in Mac, so let me just go down. And what I did was simply right click and save the image, and it's actually a 360 degree in all directions, more or less. So acquire this image, and we'll look at another way of actually applying a 360 degree scene to our project. Okay, well, that just about brings this session to a close, so I'll catch you later.